Good morning, ladies. It is an overcast, beautiful fall day. Welcome to the beginning of November. I am somewhat trepidatious to broach the next subject, but I think it's one of the most powerful topics that we can talk about in this program. It's my first time going on record with this conversation. I've had it with some of you personally, and I've shared it in my coaching and friendships in a less formal format. So I'm excited to attempt to get this message across today. And if it requires further discussion after this, that totally makes sense because it's a bit big and a bit heavy. But we have reached that point. So let's do the real work. All right, so today is all about trusting your struggle. And a complement to that concept is to set the intention to learn your lessons the easy way. So I often, whether it's in connection to the universe or I do sometimes pray, with a religious format, but however you feel a connection to that higher power above you, I often will ask to learn my lessons the easy way. And to do that requires setting that intention and then being diligently observant. So recognizing the feelings within you as they come up, loving every emotion that arises and paying attention to it, and honoring every feeling that you have as something significant or telling you something significant. So to kind of back up out of this, the whole concept is we are here to enjoy life. I do believe that that is the full purpose of life, is to enjoy flavor and love and experience and touch and all of those things that the human body allows us to experience is the purpose. And I do believe that joy is the ultimate purpose of all of those things. But to understand and appreciate joy, oftentimes we have to be introduced to things that are less enjoyable to get that dynamic. So in that, I invite you to always think that everything is happening for you as opposed to happening to you. So I've met big resistance with this with people that haven't quite gotten to that point in the grieving process of something they may be dealing with, whether it's a loss of a loved one or a major illness or something like that. But depending on where I meet them in their journey, they do get to this understanding. So while if it triggers you as something that does not feel true for you now, I honor that and meet you where you're at. And feel free to just save this recording for a day that maybe you think it's something that might resonate for you. But I truly believe that no matter what happens to us in our lifetime, it is happening for you. And that includes all the really serious, hard, bad shit. And I know that's hard to believe at the time. It's even hurtful to accept at the time that our soul could actually bring that upon us on purpose. But I do believe that there is a reason for everything, and it is in your best benefit for your greatest good. And I have full faith in that. I have full trust in that. And it's really fucking hard to see that and not look at it as just toxic positivity and looking for a silver lining in a bog full of shit. But at the end of the day, I feel like once we've grown past that, we can see it from an overhead vantage point and recognize that it does happen for us. So I invite you to always trust your struggle and trust that it is meant for you. But with that, I also invite you to always look for ways to learn your lessons the easy way. So if the lesson is to feel whole alone as yourself, the struggle might often be the end of relationships, the loss of loved ones, and continuous things that happen that cause loneliness. But the cure for loneliness is radical acceptance of being alone, and to sit in that and realize that you can fill your own cup. Excuse me. You can fill your own cup on your own, for yourself, by yourself, alone. And I have read in the, I believe it was Women Who Run with the Wolves, that she says the word alone she thinks of as all one, like sitting alone all by yourself and bringing back all of yourself from all of the different places that maybe you have heartstrings attached to people or experiences that you haven't fully processed, but bringing it all back, all one, to you. And there is a significant purpose for alone time as a woman, especially for that feminine energy to process what you've witnessed and build on the creativity of connecting the dots of everything that you've witnessed and experienced to create something new with that information and knowledge and emotion. All comes from being alone. And so if you feel uncomfortable being alone, I invite you to learn your lesson the easy way and to sit with that for a time on a regular basis until it becomes less foreign to you and becomes easier and eventually more enjoyable. Because if we don't notice with full diligent observation the emotions that we have or the feelings that we have triggered by things around us, we no longer give ourselves the opportunity to learn the lesson the easy way. It starts bashing us over the head with significant loss or significant bouts of loneliness or isolation or whatever it may be. It starts magnifying bigger and bigger until we finally learn the lesson, when we could have just acknowledged that it was something within us when it was small and learned how to work with that before it had to be so huge for us to work with it. Another time that we often learn our lessons the hard way is illness. So I know if I'm running 1,000,000 miles a minute and have major deadlines and family obligations and my to-do list is just out of control, no way everything could happen in a day, week, month that I put on, a 1-hour schedule. And then I start to feel that tickle in the back of my throat or just tired and want to rest. If I don't pay attention when it's those little things, wham, I'll wake up not feeling good, like not 100%, not able to get out of bed maybe with a cold or whatever it is. If you don't pay attention when it's little and it's hinting at my body needs attention, all of a sudden it will bash you over the head and be like, if you're not going to pay attention to me, I will make you pay attention to me. And your body is calling out for that nurturing reinforcement of validation that it is important, that it is a priority. And if you're not giving it that priority, it will make you stop and pay attention. So I invite you to trust your struggle. If you're dealing with an illness or a physical challenge, that pay attention to it, learn what you can from it. If your body is trying to tell you something, ask yourself, has it been trying to tell me this for a while in other ways, and did I not pay attention? And how can I fully honor that my body is a priority and pay attention to it now? And never beat yourself up for something in the past. I mean, the whole purpose of reaching joy is living those lessons. That is life. So never beat yourself up over it. Just learn from it and learn how you can do it easier next time. Commit to yourself that you'll pay attention sooner and earlier and when it's smaller the next time. So that, I mean, to be honest, I don't really get sick anymore, but it's because I'm so diligent about, if my body says something is off, I will stop and give it the due diligence that it's asking for at that moment so that it doesn't escalate to something bigger. Same with relational issues. If I feel like a friendship is kind of feeling tweaked, whether I voice it out with them, depending on what that dynamic is, or simply do the work internally. But I will make note of that when it's something small so that it doesn't have to turn into betrayal or loss or any of the big things that eventually will get those lessons through our skull, but we can approach them from an more loving, easier standpoint earlier on. I hope this is making sense for you guys. This is a huge part of my philosophy. I think it's a huge part of my coaching even before I present it as a subject. Anytime someone comes to me with something they're dealing with, I look for how is it serving them? How is it benefiting the lessons that maybe they see a pattern but they can't recognize why or what's happening or how to fix it, but it's always there. The information is there. So I, as a coach, I'm always looking to help you discover what may be the underlying cause and how that's been amplified to something that feels unmanageable at the time. But really, if we find why it's shouting at us, we can fix it and make it easier to integrate into our desired future, our vision for the future, our preferred reality. So I'm trying to think of additional examples. Health is a huge one. If you don't pay attention to your body, it's going to take a 2x4 and hit you over the head with the pay attention to your body message. If you don't stand up for yourself, so verbal abuse or even physical abuse oftentimes will start much earlier. It'll start with just a snarky comment. And if you don't recognize that feeling within you, like, oh, that hurt, or that didn't feel respectful, or that was a red flag, that person is not the energy that I should be around or trust my heart with. If you ignore those when it's a small red flag, they don't go away. It's a warning for a reason. And if you have yet to be on the place in your journey where you have the self-love to stand up for yourself or to walk away from something that is not good for you, it will come back. Your lessons do not stop trying to teach you the essence of the lesson until you get it. And so if you don't create a boundary for yourself in that relationship early on, and either let that person know that that's unacceptable behavior, or simply cut yourself off from unacceptable behavior to let yourself know that you're unavailable for that, it will continue and it will get bigger. And it could turn into eventual, verbal abuse, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not meddling, but it'll come to me. But where they manipulate you, And if you do not stand up for that little bit of feeling in you that either is in your gut or in your heart that says, this is off, this is not good, this doesn't feel good, make it stop. If you don't do something to make it stop, it gives that person permission to do it on a grander scale, to magnify that until you stand up for yourself. And as hard as it is, I also believe that the people in your lives, whether they bring a positive influence or a negative influence, if it's a major impact on your life, I do believe there's a soul connection there. And sometimes our greatest soulmates do the greatest harm to our happiness, but it's because they're in contract with us to teach us a lesson. And if we aren't committed to learning that lesson the easy way, they will play it full out and do what's necessary for you to finally get that gumption, get that confidence, get that bravery to stand up for yourself, to create safe space for yourself. And so always trust your struggle if you're in a situation like that. Know that it is happening for you, but be willing as soon as you have that first red flag to trust yourself, to trust your intuition. That is the most important asset, especially as women, that we have, is our gut instinct. And you're not wrong. And there are people out there that are amazing at manipulating people to believe they are crazy or just not quite thinking right. When they get called out on manipulation or abuse or whatever it is. But you're not wrong. Trust yourself. You, of all people, need to trust yourself, because if you don't trust yourself, you can't expect anyone else to trust you. So you have to take that first step and trust yourself, and either stand up for yourself if it's someone that you still have respect for and can have communication with. Trust yourself enough to have that open, honest communication. And if it's not someone that you have that trust or respect for, simply create a boundary. And you don't even have to tell them. It's simply in your actions of being no longer available for that behavior that you create a boundary and that you build that trust within yourself to become available only for what serves you and your greatest good. So whether it's physical ailments or emotional loneliness or relational dynamics as far as abuse or manipulation, trust yourself to notice the first inkling of feeling off. And feel free to call me if you're not even sure what it is you're feeling, because we can look at where it is in your body. That oftentimes is a huge identifier of what actually you're feeling, as far as what body part it's affecting. Or simply, if you recognize that it's off, but it just seems like you're overreacting or you're making a big deal out of something that you'd rather not make a big deal out of. I get it, but if that's the approach you're going to take, be willing to recognize if that wasn't a big enough deal for you to stand up for yourself and trust yourself and love yourself, it will become a big deal until you can do that. So yeah, this is all with the greatest love that I share this information. It's been a huge part of my growth, and I know it's hard to believe or accept or trust when you're in the middle of a struggle or a tough lesson in life. It's much easier to say or read or learn or even do when you're not in the midst of something that just feels too raw to go that route. So practice with little things. If a coworker says something that just rubs you the wrong way, recognize it. The first step is simply to recognize it. Even if you don't do anything about it within yourself or to them, just recognize it and thank your intuition. Just say, thank you, I love you for the warning. I hear it, I recognize it, I honor it as true and significant. and I will move forward with that information taken to heart. That's a huge step right there. You haven't had to cause any waves in your social circle. You haven't had to do anything difficult, even with your own behavior. Simply acknowledging and thanking yourself for that realization is huge. So I invite you to start there, even with the littlest, tiniest red flags. Just acknowledge them and trust that you have acknowledged something that is true and exists. And then when you're ready for something that maybe is a little bigger, or maybe it's happened more than once, I always say, if it, what is the saying? If it fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So yeah, sometimes little things happen and I will let them go. I don't instantly jump on it as I gotta squash this right now. Things happen, dynamics, we're all human. But trusting yourself to at least acknowledging it is the first step. So just noticing that first time and filing it in your, I love myself enough to notice that, trust my intuition is true, and hold that knowledge to heart. So that's the first step. But then if it happens a second time, that's where I invite you to sit grounded. And today I'm actually doing this lesson on the floor because I wanted to be as grounded as possible as I share this. But really ground yourself into what is happening here. Are they doing a power play that I need to stand up for myself or cut myself off, depending on how you feel about the trust and respect of that person? Or if it's, the loss of a job or a house or whatever it is, loss is a huge signifier of lessons learned or to be learned. So if there's big tumultuous things happening in your life, just ask yourself, what is happening here? What is the lesson to be learned? Why is this happening for me? And how can I respond so that I acknowledge that the lesson is being learned, so it does not need to happen on a grander scale? And if things do escalate to a grander scale, again, feel free to always text me, call me, schedule an official, coaching call, whatever you need to do to find out how to move through that and learn through it and grow through it in a way that fully integrates the lesson to be learned, so that you never have to go through that again. Like, once the lesson is learned, poof, we don't have to go through that anymore. But until the lesson is learned, that's where we start seeing patterns, is continually, guys leaving you, or friendships broken, or location, thrown to the wind. Whatever it is, if you start seeing patterns, it's because you have not acknowledged the trust within you to know what lesson is supposed to be learned from that situation, and it'll either keep happening or happen bigger. So yeah, this is a huge part of my philosophy on how I can be of most service to you, is helping identify those patterns, helping identify the lesson to be learned. And so I always walk a fine line with sitting in empathy with you, because I know, I've been in relationships where someone just wants to fix it or point out the thing that could be fixed. And it's so hard because that's not what I'm looking for in that moment. I just want someone to sit with me in the muck, recognize that it is shitty muck, and be there with me. And so I will be completely vulnerably honest with you guys. Sometimes it's hard for me to sit in that when I know that there's something to be learned, there's something happening for your greater good, and I just want to instantly teleport you into the future where the lesson has been learned, the ick is no longer happening, and you've flipped it into something amazing for yourself. And so I always have to pause and think, that's not where they're at yet. I want to sit with you where you're at, meet you here and now, and recognize that just the bravery of surviving the day sometimes is huge. And without looking at what the lesson to be learned is, or what things that we may be creating patterns, just to simply be together and hold space for each other and love one another exactly as we are, where we are, here and now, and know that we're all dealing with our own struggle and we're all learning our lessons. And sometimes it's really fucking shitty. And sometimes there is no sensible reason that it seems our soul would bring this upon ourselves. But trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be for your greatest good. And I am right here with you. And I will sit here with you and just be with you at any moment. And when you're ready, let's fucking flip the switch and move on to your greatest joy, your greatest happiness, your greatest life. And I'm just so in love with you ladies. Like, everything that you've shared with me so far at the start of this 30-day challenge, I know it's hard for you. A lot of times our crutch is simply something that helps us ignore those red flags, ignore the thoughts in our mind that are letting us know that things are not serving us, are not for our greatest good, but we're not ready to hear that yet. And so we'll numb our minds with drugs, alcohol, television, bad relationships, whatever it is that just allows us to not think about the hard work that needs to be done to learn those lessons, but just know that that crutch is enabling you to continue with something that your heart knows you'd be better doing the hard work and moving forward and learning that lesson and moving forward. And so I just want this week to recognize that wherever you are in that journey, I am here for you. And I just need you guys when we're doing our one-on-one calls this month. So it's a new month. So each of you, I'll post the link to schedule your next one-on-one call. It will be largely centered around this 30-day challenge because we'll all be in the midst of it, wherever you are in it. But in that call, just let me know where you're at on your personal journey. Do you want someone to just empathize with you and recognize the bravery and courage it takes to be where you're at the struggle that you're in? Are you ready to identify what the lesson might be or how to move forward with inspired action? Are you ready to create boundaries? Whether it's initiating action in engagement with someone or personally within doing the work within that will change the energy that you radiate, and that will magnetize, start attracting new, better things for you and repelling the things that no longer serve you. So wherever you are in that journey, just let me know as we do these one-on-one calls, because I totally understand that it does not resonate if I come at you with positivity and action and things to do to flip that story for you if you're still just in the experience of the struggle. So we'll all get there. We're all on this journey to joy. Sometimes it's cyclical, sometimes it's progressive, sometimes it's a backward slide. But we're all doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, and I am just here to support you, encourage you as your greatest cheerleader. Please do not feel like you need to be dishonest or to hide or admit the truth if you gave up something and you wake up every day like, okay, today's the day I'm going to give it up, and somehow life happens and you're right back into your same habits. I get it. There's a lot to be learned from that, though. So let's just be honest with ourselves, be honest with me, so that we can look at loving ourselves through that. Love the one who judges that it's shameful. Love the one who needs that crutch, and let's just look at why and what it's serving for you, and if there's some way to just tweak it so it doesn't feel like a crutch, it doesn't feel guilty or shameful or wasteful. So be honest with yourself and be honest with me, and love yourself enough to know that everything is happening for you, and I am here to help. All right? So with that, I invite you, so this is November. I forgot to record the call last, Sunday. And so I am super sorry for that. So I want to schedule our next group call as soon as possible. So everyone that didn't check in on the one that wasn't recorded has an opportunity to check in with the group as soon as possible. So I'm open to that even being today. If enough people respond and say that that is good for them, I'm available tomorrow. I have my vision board party scheduled for 7 p.m. on Thursday, my monthly regular one that's not part of this group. But because I've been so focused on you ladies and this group and this program, I have not been promoting that at all lately. I posted about it just, I think, yesterday, and that's all. And since I didn't promote it last month and nobody showed up except for the ladies in this group, I have a feeling that's what'll happen again this month. So I'm also willing to turn that 7 o'clock vision board party into our group call. And don't anticipate that probably anyone else will be joining. So that time slot is available as well. So let me know. Please respond. Let me know when you want to do your group call so that as many of you can check in at the beginning of this 30-day challenge as soon as possible. And then I will send the link for everyone to schedule their one-on-one calls so that you can get my support wherever you want it. So this has nothing to do with your monthly cycle. It's simply, where do you want the most help on this 30-day journey? Are you having trouble starting and you need a big cheerleader to help figure out how to get that going? Are you worried that in the middle there might be a lull and you want a reboost sometime in the middle? Are you wanting someone at the end that can help with that last little bit, like, you can do this, let's go, and cheer you on to the finish line? Wherever that is for you, that's where I want you to schedule our one-on-one call for this month. All right? All right. I am so excited. I think all of you have chosen your 30-day challenge. I think one of you, actually, I don't quite yet know what it might be. But it's sounding like you all chose exactly what is meant for your greatest joy. And we can do this. We're doing it. All right. Talk to you soon. Love you, ladies.